Minglawa, welcome to MITV special talk show Perspectives. For this show, we have invited honorable guest Wu Ejian, who is Councillor of Myanmar Press Council and also Chairman of E-Commerce Association of Myanmar and Deputy Chairman of Myanmar Digital Economy Association of UMFCCI. Minglawa Sia, thank you very much for your kind presence. And this week we are going to talk about tax. So all about taxes. So why everyone is afraid of tax?
Well, it's an expense, it's an outflow, right? And sometimes people feel that it's an uncertainty. You don't know how much you're going to pay. It's an unknown amount, right? You cannot know the amount beforehand. So because of that, people are a little bit afraid. And somehow, also another point is people are generally afraid, do not want to deal with civil servants, right? Government officials, they don't want to deal with that. So that's why they are afraid. That's the second reason. And the last point is, they are sometimes not in a position to argue back because of their lack of knowledge in accounting and finance and how the tax are computed and how the profitability is computed. They don't know. So when you don't know something, you're typically a little bit scared.
Mm-hmm. So how do we have a good system?
Okay, tax typically all the tax theoretical part, they always say in order to have a good tax system, you need to have four things. The first one is fairness, you need to be fair. And the second one is certainty, you need to know exactly how much you're going to pay. The next one is the convenience. Convenience means ease of payment. Yeah, the ease of it got to be reasonably easy to go and pay tax. Right. The last point is the efficiency, ease of collection. It got to be easy for the government to collect as well. So if you have these four come together, then you have a very good tax system.
Mm-hmm. So for example, I think when we go to the supermarket, they have already deducted the taxes for shopping, after the shopping.
You're talking about commercial tax.
Yeah, but it's very convenient, so we don't mind for paying taxes. So maybe this kind of situation will be, if they create a kind of service, it will be very convenient for the consumers.
Correct. Obviously, certain taxes you can make payment as you spend. These are called consumption taxes. But for profit taxes, you cannot do that because you don't exactly know how much profit you're making. Operating a company, how do I know before you get to the year end of the year, how much profit I make? I will not know. So it's quite difficult to do as the same as a consumption tax. Consumption tax, when you buy something, you pay tax. That is a consumption tax because you consume.
So for the companies, they have to, at the end of the year, they have to clarify, yeah?
Yeah, they only after they compute the profit and loss, then you can think about how much tax that you could pay.
So what is the first issue with the tax system in Myanmar and how do we address?
Okay, the first issue I believe is a cultural issue because we are not used to paying taxes. Yeah, because nobody used to paying taxes. That's why I always tell people in the school system, you are taught on very difficult mathematics subjects such as trigonometry or differential calculus or integration, differentiation. You are taught all these things. But in your life, have you ever used that?
No.
You don't, right? So you talk about sine, cosine, and tangent, cotangent, you don't use that. Yeah. But in your life, every year of your life, working life, you're going to use what? Deal with tax. Right? But you are never taught about tax. You are never taught. You will do business, but you are never taught about accounting. You will handle money from like age of 20 or even from the age of 15 onwards. But you are never taught about finance and accounting at school. Yeah, let alone taxes. So, when you're not taught about certain things, so how do you grow up? You grow up not knowing and being afraid of these things. Just now you asked me, well, why people are afraid of tax? Because the lack of knowledge. Then you're afraid. That's the one. So, and then the other one is, cultural issue. Then without having a formal education on the tax and accounting and finance and all these things, people began to equate taxes as you pay something as a business transaction. So I pay tax. what do I get in return? I don't get anything, right? And when you go shopping, you pay something, you get something back. But when you pay tax, what do you get? Yeah, so you cannot see the taxes as that. The taxes are necessary for the building of the nation, to build roads, right? To build an army, to build a police station, right? To have the fire brigade, right? To handle fire in case of fire. Right? So all these things are being paid for by the people's taxes. So tax is, is not a give and take thing, right? So that's the thing. And paying taxes, you need to be taught that is being patriotic, because you're helping build a nation, plus very statesman-like. You're being a great statesman to be paying taxes. You got to be taught like that since you are young. It's like when you are young, whenever there's a national anthem, or when a Myanmar national flag is being raised, you got to stand up, right?
Yeah.
Why you stand up? Even in the cinema, you stand up. Why?
Because
you are taught.
respect.
Because you are taught to stand up since you are young. So you have to be, if you are taught since you are little, or during the university or your high school days, about accounting and finance and taxes, you will not be afraid of taxes. You know that is your obligation. It's your national service to have to pay tax. Yeah, but at the same time, having said that, the situation is not the one that faced by Myanmar alone. Even in our big neighbor, friendly neighbor China, only 2% of the people pay taxes. The rest is non-taxpayers. How do you measure, how widespread is the tax assessment, tax net, in the country? You measure the tax collected versus the GDP. In US, I think it's about 17-18%. Tax as a percentage of GDP. In China, it's about 9%. In Myanmar, it's hanging around like 5-6%. So that is the we collect very little tax compared to a percentage of GDP. Yeah. So what is the indication? Obviously, if our tax collection is only based on the surface economy, it doesn't include the gray economy, underground economy. So if we include the underground economy and gray economy for the country, the percentage of the tax collected as a percentage of the real GDP is even smaller. So is very few people are paying tax here. So the government or MOPF has two main tasks. One is to induce people, to have a culture of paying taxes, and plus to put more economic activities into the tax assessment, especially the gray economy area. That will increase the tax revenues for the government.
So can you elaborate about the gray economy and also the ground economy?
Underground.
Underground
Yeah.
economy.
So above ground mean, for example, if you open the supermarket, there's everybody know you got a license, you got to collect commercial tax, blah 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 blah. So that is the above ground. Underground means sometimes gray economy. Sometimes you open an online shop, right? You sell things from your house, right? So that escape the tax net. Right, so it may be going without the commercial tax, and the underground economy is like you're selling directly from Thailand on China, right? So it escape everything, right? So it's the economic activity and profits generated out of Myanmar, but by another different country, but it doesn't fall into the tax net.
So what about another issue?
Well, other issues is, there are a number of other issues. The first one is the implications of late payment and non-payment of taxes, right? In other countries, there's always jail time and all these things. In Myanmar, the implications, the penalty for late payment or non-payment of taxes is slightly lower. It's only like 10% of the outstanding amount in general. Of course, the law may say certain things can be, certain other penalties can be put in, but generally it's only like 10%, which is not so much. And plus, I think at this point in time, or maybe our country is not so developed, so the government lack the resources to track down the, tax dodgers or have a wider net to collect taxes out of the gray economy and the underground economy. So there's the one. And the other one is people are so used to paying tax only when need basis, right? Oh, let's say you need to buy a car. Oh, you need something. Okay, at that time you pay tax, right? So, oh, you want to apply for this license. Oh, you need white money. So at that time you go and pay tax. So rather than people are not programmed or people are not so used to paying taxes regularly, so they pay tax as and when needed. So that is not very good for the economy. Yeah, so that's the one. The other one is the other complaint maybe, when you disagree with the tax officer, the resolution, in order to resolve that, it takes such a long time. And plus there is taxes offset and tax carry forward of the losses. When you make this year loss, typically it's very difficult to carry forward this loss to the next year compared to other countries.
So, very interesting. And how about tax assessment system? How can we assess it?
In Myanmar, there are two systems. One is called official assessment system, and the other one is a self-assessment system. Official assessment system is tax officer assessing how much tax you're supposed to pay. Yeah, that's an old system. And the new one is self-assessment. You assess yourself how much tax you should pay. And then if the government disagree with you, they will come after you. Yeah, so that is the second one. Obviously, self-assessment is always better because almost all the countries, developed countries all over the world, they are doing that self-assessment. You assess yourself. If the government suspects that you are cheating, they will come after you, right? Or the OAS is the government assess you. That's an old system. Yeah.
So, any final issues with the current tax system?
Well, one of the key issue is our tax system is coming from the British system of principle-based system rather than U.S. type rule-based system. Principle-based, you get based on the principle, right? So principle means that principle, you are trying to interpret the principles all the time. But at the same time, so if you do not agree with that interpretation, what happened? Right? You have to go to a court. You go to a judge, in front of the judge, and the judge decide. So in Myanmar, right, if you do not agree with the government interpretation, it's quite difficult to go against the government and go to the court and fight it out. So these tax law precedents are hard to come by in this country. So as such, there's a little bit of weakness there in this principle-based tax system. So what happens is if you do not agree with the assessment, especially under the OAS, official assessment system, you tend to negotiate with the tax officer in charge. Then that's how we try to work things out here. That is not very efficient for the country.
So, what are typical complaints by taxpayers?
Normally, if you talk about big taxpayers, they are businesses and corporates. Yeah, so typical complaints is they always argue which expenses are allowed or not allowed for tax purposes. Right, certain expenses, for example, if you drive your own car, your car expenses cannot be charged to the business because it's your personal use. Yeah, that type of thing. So there are some rules there where certain expenses are not allowed under in the Inland Revenue System. It's not allowed. So that's always the argument about that. The second one is the carry forward the losses. You make this year loss, right? A lot of time the tax officers, they will just say that there's no assessment in this year, i.e. zero. But in fact, you're making loss. So instead of recognizing the loss, they just put it as zero. Zero means no profit, no loss. Yeah, so there is no losses to carry forward to the next year to offset against the profits of the coming years. So that is the one issue. And the other one is in Myanmar, there is no such thing as group relief. Group relief means you are a businessman, you own 5 companies. So 3 of them may be making loss, 2 of them are making profit. Yeah, but you are assessed only on these 2 profitable operations, but you cannot offset against the loss-making ones. Yeah, that is called group relief. In foreign countries, other countries, if you own one person is the majority shareholders own 5 companies, the tax is assessed based on the whole group rather than on each company. So that is a group relief. So in Myanmar, there is no group relief here. So typically, these are the complaints by the corporate taxpayers. Yeah.
So, what is the way forward for tax?
Well, we are always in the tax system. We always have to strive for these 4 things. And the first 4 things that I mentioned: convenience, efficiency, that 4 things. Yeah. So certainty, fairness, Yeah, that four things. So we always try to improve on these four things. And plus the current direction the government is going, the SAS, self-assessment system, is the future, is the way to go. It will eliminate a lot of weaknesses that we are currently having in our current tax system. So we are already on the right track, but it's just that because of COVID and whatever other things, it got slowed down. So we need to push more towards the self-assessment system. That's the way to the future of the having a good tax system in Myanmar.
So, what will be the weakness of the assessment?
Well, SS is pretty good because you declare yourself. So if you feel that if the government feel that you're cheating, the government will look at your whatever you have submitted. But at least the government will get the money first, right? Okay, I think I should pay that. Okay, we'll pay quickly. Yeah, then it helps. The responsibility to be truthful, responsibility to pay tax, it falls onto the taxpayer because you got to declare. That's how much I make. That's how much I earn. That's how much is my salary. That's how much is my profit. Then that's why I'm declaring this. And that's how much tax to pay. And I'm paying that. So that is a responsibility. And the responsibility for the government is what? Yeah. If the government don't agree with my declaration, the government is the government responsibility to check it out. Yeah. So there is no such thing of a negotiation or all these things anymore. The government can investigate. But I've already declared, which I think is my liability. Yeah, that's one. Plus, with just now the first thing I mentioned about cultural issue, with a little bit of training education in the college and high school to our youngsters that,
Awareness on tax
yeah, correct.
system.
Paying tax is the same as, standing up during the national anthem. Yeah, it's like, so also then more people, we have a more better future and more profitable future for the government.
Thank you for sharing insightful discussion. You have been watching MITV special program Perspectives. Thanks for joining us.